Vajon milyen lett volna, ha Obi-Wan történetét egy 3 részes mozifilm trilógiaként csinálták volna meg? Ha érdekelnek a részletek, nézd meg ezt a videót. Érdekes lesz. Sziasztok, sziasztok, hello, köszöntök mindenkit nagy-nagy szeretettel és kitörő örömmel ebben az újabb Star Wars hírek videóban, ahol is egy sorozatot indítunk el, ami arról fog szólni, hogy milyen is lehetett volna az Obi-Wan sorozat, ha nem egy ilyen meglehetősen rosszul sikerült, unalmas és fárasztóan együgyű szériát csináltak volna belőle. A szegény Obi-Wan Kenobiból nem csak egy ilyen szerencsétlen önmaga árnyékát sikerült volna összehozni és bemutatni, hanem valaki olyat, aki igazán méltó lehetett volna ennek a karakternek mind a szellemiségéhez, mind pedig az eszményképéhez, amit képviselt. Amit már megszokhattunk mind a klasszikus, mind pedig az előzmény trilógiákból, illetve a Clone Wars sorozatokból egyaránt. Egy 3 részes mozi trilógia keretén belül. Yes. Nos, a Star Wars Theory csatorna egy beszélgetést készített azzal az íróval, aki eredetileg hozta ezt az ötletet a Lucasfilmhez, akit úgy hívnak, hogy Stuart Beatty. Nos, az itt bemutatott videó egy interjú részlet lesz, amit én több részben tervezek közreadni, és a magyar Star Wars közösség számára remélhetőleg érthető formában bemutatni. Bízom benne, hogy tetszik majd nektek is az, amit az úriember itt előad a következőkben az ötletével kapcsolatban. Minden esetre érdekes elképzelni, hogy milyen más aspektusból is el lehetett volna mesélni a Star Wars egyik legfontosabb karakterének történetét, ahhoz képest, mint ami végül lett belőle. Remélem, hogy a Theory gyűlölők nem fognak dzsihádot hirdetni ellenem ezúttal sem, mert merészelek egy másik videót is hozni tőle, és elétek tárni mindazon ötleteket és elgondolásokat, amikkel Stuart annak idején előrukkolt. Szerintem ugyanis izgalmas dolgokat fogunk hallani. Mielőtt azonban belevágunk, megkérlek, hogy ha már úgyis ide tévedtél, és ezt még nem tetted volna meg esetleg, akkor kérlek iratkozz fel a csatornára, és nyomd meg a lájkot, ha tetszik, amit látsz, hallasz, vagy a diszlájkot. De ne is húzzuk tovább az időt, vágjunk bele az első részlet megtekintésébe, remélem nektek is tetszeni fog, nekem ugyanis nagyon érdekes volt. Kezdjük hát!
Yeah, I want to talk about, well, really whatever you want to talk about as well. If there's anything, new projects that you have coming out that you want out there a little more. Mainly, I want to talk about Kenobi and just your original ideas and how it was supposed to be possibly a movie, and then it changed and went into the hands of other people. And
so look, so for me, I was 6 when I saw Star Wars, fell in love with it. It's why I wanted to be a filmmaker, and started the whole journey for me. So it was very, very, very close to my heart. So I had started I think they'd started the new trilogy, but I had basically we had obviously Ewan doing that incredible performance in the prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
And so to me it was when Disney took over, the obvious thing, when Lucasfilm went to Disney, the obvious thing for me was, okay, well, they're probably going to do an Obi-Wan movie because that's the one everyone wants. So,
right.
But I wasn't hearing anything about who was doing it and what was happening. So I just started coming up with my own ideas for it, and then went up to Lucasfilm and pitched them. And that's really what got the ball rolling, because they actually weren't planning on doing it. They were they're busy with Rogue One and Han Solo and all these other things. So so it was really a matter of convincing them that there was a story there worthy to tell. And they did ask me in that meeting, is it a movie or is it a show? And I just felt, no, it's a movie. It's 3 movies I had planned for him, because I felt there were 3 different evolutions of his character. Going from basically Obi-Wan Kenobi to Ben. There's 19 years there, and it's not just 19 years of a guy sitting in a desert. There's fundamentally different characters. There's Jedi Master, Clone Wars General, jump into the middle of the fray, say hello there, and get fighting, right? To this really reluctant shell of a person, waiting to be called to adventure. So that was always fascinating to me. I just felt that the evolution of Obi-Wan to Ben was something that was really worth exploring, and that was really the basis of my pitch. But the thing that really hooked them, I think, in that meeting was when I said, and he has to have met Darth Vader in this time. And they were like, no, it's impossible. It's possible. I said, no, it's actually a fact. And I can prove it. And they were like, how?
Yeah.
And so I said, well, you look at Return of the Jedi. And you look at the scene where Luke gives himself up to Vader. And he says, I still believe there's good in you, Father. And I said, and Vader replies, Obi-Wan once thought the same as you.
Yeah.
And I was like, when did that happen? Because it certainly didn't happen in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
And it certainly didn't happen in A New Hope. So it must have happened in between. And they were like, oh my God, you're right. And so that's what really started the whole ball.
That was the opener. See, when I watched that as a kid, I was always like, oh, well, he probably just, in Revenge of the Sith, he probably thought that he could turn him, but he didn't. But we never really actually saw them. You're right. And that's always a kind of a qualm I had with Revenge of the Sith was Obi-Wan never actually tried to tell him, like, hey, like, what are you doing? He was just like kind of arguing with him for 2 seconds, and then they just fought each other to the death.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That was it. So he never said, come back to me, Anakin. I believe there's good in you. Even Padme had said, there's still good in him. I know it. But he never said to Anakin, hey, come on. We all believe in you, buddy.
Did you ever pitch this to George at all, or talk to George?
Nope, because George was out of it by then, because Disney, Disney or Lucasfilm, so no, he wasn't a part of it.
I always wonder how involved he is with this stuff, or if he's just completely out of it.
Yeah, he was not involved in Obi-Wan. He was partially involved in Solo because he was the one who had started that.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, he had brought that to Larry Kasdan.
Yeah.
Who's like my mentor. Actually, his wife has known my wife forever, and so I've always, come to him for advice and everything. So
that's so cool, man.
I know, yeah, the greatest, yeah, yeah. And then he came to me for advice one day about he had his first ever writing assignment, after he's been in the business for 30 years, and he's like, so how does this work? And I was like, you bastard, you've had this whole career without doing a writing assignment. What the, anyway. Is a lovely man, an incredible writer. So anyway, so George had gone to Larry and said, hey, let's do a movie, pick anything. And Larry had picked Han Solo. And so that's why Lucasfilm made the Han Solo film, because it was already in development when they bought it from George. And then Rogue One was John Dykstra had a great idea for this. He called it a little heist movie at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that became Rogue One.
No, I liked Rogue One. Solo, it seems like people had a lot of issues with it, but I didn't really see any issue with it other than the fact that it was just Solo, so it's not like Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader or something where the masses are going to go and watch. But it was a fun tale. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's no real issue with it.
It gets very unfairly maligned. It's a great movie. I maybe people's expectations were too high. Maybe it came too close on the heels of Last Jedi.
I think so. I think people were just pissed off, and
who knows? Maybe it's just one of those characters that's impossible to see anyone but Harrison. Who knows?
Possibly, yeah. So with Kenobi, what happened with? I mean, I remember back in maybe even 6-something years ago or whatever, there was that interview with Ewan and Collider, and he was talking about how Obi-Wan was going to be maybe a trilogy and a movie, and your idea, and then eventually there was silence for years, and then turned into this show, which I didn't really resonate with. I mean, there were some cool moments but of course, when you have Ewan and Hayden on screen, or Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, I mean, how could there not be, right?
Right.
You get those even with fan films. But I looked at your treatment that was leaked online, or whatever happened with that. Is that real? How Cody was supposed to come in there? And
oh yeah. Yeah. So look, my pitch to them was, it all came from character, right? So what's Obi-Wan feeling at the end of Revenge of the Sith? What's the primary feel? And I think I felt the feeling is guilt. Guilt, I've just killed my brother. Guilt, I'm responsible for unleashing this hell on the galaxy. It's my fault. I trained the guy, you know? So it's guilt, 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 guilt. But I've got this secret weapon. I've got this baby. This is the new hope.
Yeah,
And this baby can make everything right. This baby can fix everything I've messed up.
Yeah.
So he's putting all of his guilt onto this baby.
Yeah.
It's a recipe for disaster, right? But that's his plan. That's his. I'm not saying he was thinking clearly. He clearly wasn't.
Right.
Who would be?
Yeah.
So look, but he's like like I said, Clone Wars General Jedi Master. He doesn't know the first thing about a baby. Oh. So okay, I'll take it to the uncle and aunt, and they can do the baby stuff. Yeah. And I'll just stay. I was like, there's no way he would leave. He would stay right there. He's like, no, I'm moving in with you, and I'm going to watch over this kid, and because he is, the new hope. He is everything. It's the only way this gets fixed. Right. So he moved in with the Lars, and he was just making sure nothing bad happened to the kid. And as per the Jedi training, at 4 years old, the deal is I take him. You've done the diaper things. He's out of diapers. He can feed, and I can talk to him. I'll take him at 4. You'll never see us again. And we'll go off, and I'll train him. He'll become the greatest Jedi Knight, son of Anakin Skywalker, and we'll fix everything. We'll take down the Emperor, Darth, everyone. Absolve me of my guilt.
Yes.
Fucked up plan, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But that's his plan. So in my film, Luke is 4. And he's like right on the edge of, almost there. Obi-Wan's about to take him away. And the main problem for Obi-Wan at the beginning is he's lost his connection to the Force. And he doesn't know why. So when we first met him, he's just trying to, pick up his lightsaber from across the room, and it won't work. Yeah. So I thought that was a really interesting way to just, take away Superman's powers, right? He's a Jedi. What is a Jedi without their connection to the Force? Right. And so a big part of the journey for him in my film, in that first film, was finding his connection back to the Force, figuring out why he's lost it and what he has to do to get it back. Mm-hmm. And the answer to that was, you have to let go. You have to surrender to the will of the Force. You're trying to force the will of the Force.
Yes, right.
With your crazy plan. You've got to get back, and you've got to let things be, and you've got to let the Force come to you. And so, because I always figured the hardest thing for a general to do is surrender, right? It's the hardest thing to do, and that's what he's got to learn to do. He's got to surrender to the will of the Force and get to that place where he can leave at the end and go, Luke, you be a kid. I'm going to leave. I'll keep an eye on you, but I'm going to let you be a kid. And so that, because it just made no sense to me that he would do that on his own. It had to be this massive story there that got him to that place. So that was his whole journey. And you can see in the show they get to that place, but I don't feel like they really earned it, because it wasn't really about him in the end. My story was all about his discovery of what he's doing is wrong. And realizing it's wrong, and then learning I've got to do something else, and that was done to him. He ended up, it'll get complex, but the idea was
get complex, man. I could take it. Get complex.
Well, when he just to quickly fill in the gaps, what changes everything, the inciting incident of the movie, was the Empire arriving on Tatooine. Yeah, Empire has been spreading. Yep. And this is only 4 years into the Empire, right? Yeah. So finally reached Tatooine, and it's like, okay, Empire's here. Luke's 4. We gotta go. Yeah. And so Cody, I'd left the story of how they reconnected to someone else to do, in a comic or something like that. So the idea was Cody's taking the chip out. And Cody is now, oh my God, guilt as well, right? I'm so sorry for trying to kill you. I am here, ride or die for you. I will do anything you want. So Cody is like his eyes and ears on the ground in Mos Eisley. And so Cody contacts him and says, hey, the Empire is here. We got to get out. And then, of course, they've got a plan to get out.
Nos, ezzel vége is az első résznek, remélem tetszett nektek, amennyiben igen, akkor mehet is a like, a feliratkozás és a megosztás, ha úgy érzitek, hogy ez más Star Wars rajongókat is érdekelhet. ha más nem legalább a rajongói merengés szintjén. Minden esetre én most elköszönök tőletek, az erő legyen veletek. Találkozunk a következő részben, addig is szokás szerint maradok tisztelettel. Sziasztok!